Okay, I've just opened it up. Over to you guys.
Perfect. Thank you, Stuart. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this afternoon's webinar on the OWGP Innovation Grant Programme. I'm just going to give it 30 seconds to a minute to just allow people to join the webinar, and then we'll kick things off. You can see the participants still, people still coming into the room. So I'm just going to give a few more seconds and then we can kick things off. Okay, excellent. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining today's webinar on the OWGP April Innovation Grant Programme. My name is Claire Canning, and I am one of the programme managers for the Offshore Wind Growth Partnership, specifically looking at the grant funding programme. And delighted to be here today with Tom Speedy, who will be taking over and leading the webinar, who's project manager for OWGP. And we're delighted to have on the call today representatives from Ocean Winds and Scottish Power Renewables, who will be talking through their innovation challenges in relation to this particular programme. For today's call, the session is being recorded and will be circulated to everybody after the call. We'll also send a copy of the slides. If I could encourage everybody as well, if you've got any questions, please don't hesitate to use the Q&A function at the bottom. We will hopefully have 10 to 15 minutes at the end where we can go through the Q&A. Anything that we don't cover, we can certainly follow up with afterwards, and we will endeavour to circulate an FAQ along with the slides and the recording. So I think without further ado, if you want to click onto the next slide, Tom. Thank you. So this is the agenda for this afternoon's session. Well, I will give a very brief introduction to the Offshore Wind Growth Partnership, and then we'll pass on to Tom Speedy, who will take us through the innovation grant competition. And then delighted to hand over to our industry champions, Gonzalo Esguerra and Teresa Enriquez from Ocean Winds and Scottish Power, who will talk through innovation challenges in relation to the call. And then it'll be back to Tom to talk about through the application process, criteria, and then we'll have time for Q&A at the end, hopefully. If we can move on to the next slide. Great, thank you. So in terms of the Offshore Wind Growth Partnership, for anybody that's not familiar, this is a programme that was established in 2019 off the back of the offshore wind sector deal as a mechanism or a means to help to drive an increase in UK content in UK offshore wind projects, but also to help UK companies become more competitive and increase chances of winning work within the sector. The programme itself receives funding from the Offshore Wind Industry Council, which is made up of representatives from all the various different developers who are building projects in UK waters. And the headline figure is £100 million over 10 years. And the OWGP itself is delivered by the Offshore Renewable Energy Catapult. So we have our funding coming in privately from the Offshore Wind Industry Council, and programme itself delivered by Catapult. So myself and Tom are Catapult employees. As I mentioned, we have a budget of £100 million over 10 years to provide support to companies. And the way that we do that is through two key mechanisms. We deliver business transformation, which is essentially structured programmes that are very needs focused and targeted towards particular barriers to growth or barriers to entry into the supply chain that we can provide access to UK businesses. So we've got various different types of business transformation programmes on offer. And to complement that, we also have a grant funding programme, which is what we're focusing on today. So we can offer grant funding for companies that are looking to invest in facilities, invest in new equipment to help develop or build capacity and capability, or developing new products, services and technologies, commercialising that into the market. In terms of what we're looking for, the key aims of OWGP, we kind of have four key metrics that we are that we're measuring and that we're looking for in terms of companies we're offering support to, and that's companies that we feel we can increase UK jobs, turnover, exports, and IP within the supply chain. So we've got those 4 KPIs that we're looking to address through any type of intervention that we offer. And I think that's a very brief introduction, but I'll pass over to Tom Speedy now, who will talk a little bit more about the innovation grant competition.
Thanks. So yes, my name's Tom Speedy. I'm a project manager within OWGP. So I focus predominantly within the grant funding program, and I've been leading the innovation grants for the last few years. So a bit about the innovation grants. These are our smaller scale grants. We have these as sort of a game-changing projects. And essentially with the innovation, they're looking to help deliver and develop these new technologies and new innovations in the products and services that will address for the offshore wind sector. So with the innovation grants, these are very targeted and specific. We do quite a bit of scope and engagement with the industry and with the sector to really understand what the innovation priority areas are within offshore wind, so that we're able to meet the targets moving forward with the in the offshore wind pipeline. So part of the development with this call, we've decided to align this latest funding competition with the supply chain capability analysis report, which came out last year, and more recently with the offshore wind industrial growth plan with the OWGP, which was launched just fairly recently. So within that, we've identified some of the high growth potential areas within both those reports, and the areas moving forward. So with the OWGP, this aligns quite nicely with 2 of the 5 priority areas. So that being future electrical systems and cables, and next generation installation and O&M. So the scope of this particular funding call for the 2024 innovation grant will be focusing on future cables and electrical systems, but then also the next generation installation and O&M technologies. So with that, there's obviously a range of projects which could fall in within that scope. So there are just some of the projects that are available there in the list here, with the likes of static and dynamic cables, and that could be relating to both, the fixed and floating solutions. There's also likes of there's quite a good focus on cable protection systems, the electrical system and SCADA design, and then we also look at things around the smart O&M solutions. So within the OWGP reports, it was specifically identified that the UK has a very strong capability in O&M, and separately, and also in the smart O&M services. So the reasoning behind this call is we're really trying to align with these OWGP priority areas. So for instance, having this remote monitoring and inspection piece that's been brought up, so obviously align with O&M services, but also the cable protection and cable systems. And with this call, we're really looking to try and support projects and technologies that have a good exportable products and services, and are also at that point where we're able to commercialize quickly and are that key point of commercialization. In terms of the eligibility criteria for applying for the funding competition, the main criteria is obviously to be a UK registered company of any size. So this could be a company that's either moving into the offshore wind sector or is already established in the sector. But we really want to make sure that you've got a clear intent to develop your business within offshore wind. This is obviously looking for new endeavors and new projects. It can't be the business as usual activities. So we're looking for, really developing in these new innovative technologies that may not have been able to be supported without OWGP intervention. So a point with the OWGP support, so one of the eligibility criteria we have with the call is that companies, so they must not have received OWGP funding in the last 12 months. So that will include the 2023 May development grant competition. We do appreciate that there is currently a development grant being processed at the minute with the January call. So if you are currently going through the application stage of the January call, you would not be eligible for this call, as we cannot support calls companies supported in the previous 12 months. Additionally, onto that, part of the eligibility is companies must not receive 3 or more application funding, so a maximum of 3 supports with OWGP moving forward. So it's to keep that in mind if you've previously been supported in one of our previous calls. So obviously with the call, we're looking to try and make sure that this project is demonstrating its capability within offshore wind. And part of our key metrics for success, which Claire mentioned in the previous slide, is we've got 4 key KPI targets. So we're really looking for projects that are going to allow an intent to grow the business, that being in your jobs, turnover, export, and IP. Part of the eligibility for the call is there must be a clear match contribution to the project. So that's monetary or in-kind contribution. Match eligibility must be up to at least 50% of the project costs. In terms of the scope for the call itself, obviously with the innovation grant, we're looking at addressing new innovative solutions that are really going to address some of the key priority areas within the sector, and these innovation priority areas is what aligns to the scope of the call. So for instance, we're looking at technologies that are going to developing new technologies or products and services that are really going to accelerate the development of the industry and these innovation priority areas. This could be investing in new technologies, products or services that might allow it for more improve the operational performance or perhaps the reliability of key components. And as I said, we're really looking for these that are going to help accelerate the growth within your company. One of the key takeaways with this is, particularly because it's still labelled as an innovation grant, technologies still need to demonstrate that they are near to market solutions. So by that we mean ready for commercialisation. So that includes the likes of any floating wind technology. We don't have a strict TRL level for this. We're more looking for the commercialisation of technologies and products and services. So part of the innovation grant call, pleased to announce that again, we've got some great industry backing, industry support as part of the call. So with the innovation grant, we're lucky enough to have industry champions be part of that. So within OWGP, we have our steering committee from OWIC, that's the Offshore Wind Industry Council, who help steer the programme. And with that, we have 2 developers who are taking part and participating in this call with Ocean Winds and Scottish Power Renewables. But both of these champions have expressed, particular interest in the innovation priority areas that were brought up as part of this call, and were consulted to identify what the scope of intervention should be and what the scope should be for this call. So with Ocean Winds and SPR, they have a particular interest in the innovation areas that have been brought up, and they have an active interest in the solutions that are being brought forward by companies, by yourselves. So one of the roles that the champions will play is that they'll be able to have first and direct access to solutions that come around. So companies that are supported through this competition, the champions will have direct and first sighting and perhaps access to some of these solutions and really understanding some of the key solutions that are coming through. It also provides us with an opportunity to perhaps facilitate some introductions, and also additional opportunity to have an industry steer on potential solutions. So it's fantastic to have the backing of these 2 developers as part of the call. In addition to that, they'll be and they're sort of waiting around the promotion of the call. It's fantastic to have them attend and the webinar this afternoon. So it's really good to have that meaningful engagement. Just one final sort of note on the champion, just to have this make sure it's clear. So Ocean Winds and Scottish Power Renewables will have that support role only. There's no additional financial contribution brought from the 2 developers, and as well as that, there's no guarantee of contractual commitments with any of the projects that come through. So they're really bringing quite a good industry support and industry steering role as our champions for this year. So it's grateful to have them on board. So speaking of our champions, what I'll do is it's great to have both presenting as part of the webinar this afternoon. So I'll hand over to Gonzalo with who's part of Ocean Winds and is one of the electrical senior engineers with the Ocean Winds team. So I'll hand over to you.
Thank you, Tom. Hello, everyone. I'm Gonzalo Cuevas, electrical senior engineer in Ocean Winds. For those of you who don't know Ocean Winds, we are an international company dedicated to the offshore wind energy and created as a as a joint venture between EDP Renewables and Engie. We are headquartered in Madrid, and yeah, we are a developer not only focused on bottom fixed wind, but also in floating wind. So as you can see, we have a portfolio that consists of around 17 gigawatts with 15 projects in 7 different geographies. This includes, if we go from the left to right on the text boxes, first our main market at the moment, which is the UK, in which we have 4 different projects in Scotland. One of them is in under operation already, Moray East. Then we have Moray West under installation right now. And then we'll have Caledonia also on the Moray Firth and Arven in the Shetlands. Then we have the US with 3 different projects, one of them floating project in the West Coast and 2 bottom fixed in the East Coast, all of them under development. Then if we move to Europe, we have Windfloat Atlantic, a floating project in the Portuguese coast, made of 3 semi-submersible floaters and in operation since 2020. And then in the rest of Europe, we have CMAID under operation in Belgium, and in France, we have 3 projects right now which are under construction. One of them it's a floating project as well. And finally, we have Poland and with a project under development, and in Korea, we have 2 projects under development. So now you can go to the next slide, please. Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about different problems that we face every day, but of course we're interested in many more other topics. I'm going to start with the cable monitoring system. Cable monitoring systems, and I'm talking, of course, about the offshore wind business. It's something that has been progressing very fast during the last years, and there's a huge investment into it. There's a lot of companies, a lot of new companies trying to get some new contracts and having new products. But we need to see what is best and for what purpose do we need these monitoring systems. So as developers, there are several issues that we face every day. One of them is like whenever we are going we're buying a wind farm, we sign a contract with a cable supplier, and we usually don't have the cable monitoring company that is going to supply the systems involved on the early days, so during the contract negotiation, and there's not as smooth interaction with that supplier in that process. Sorry, you said my mic is not really good.
Yes, sorry, thanks, Gonzalo. We're hearing a bit of interference from your microphone. A couple of people have said in the chat, sounds.
Is it better now?
It sounds a little bit fuzzy. Oh, that's much better.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. So as I was saying, we have having some issues because whenever we are signing contracts with cable suppliers, there is not a smooth iteration with the supplier of the monitoring system. So at the end, we end up with a cable with so many optical fibers, for example, that are ordered just as an estimation, and then that's one of the parts, and the other side is like those fibers are standard fibers and are not perfectly in line with what the company that is going to supply the protection system, the monitoring system, sorry, requires. So this leads to extra costs not considered initially, because we have to adapt the requirements of the monitoring system company to the cable, and that's only one of the issues. But also it could be that there is there is no room to mitigate that during the operation stage. So we end up having an even a bigger issue. Can you go to the next slide, Tom? Yeah. So there's a bunch of opportunities here on the cable monitoring systems, okay? There are so many systems available right now, as I said, and each of them usually comes with software. You buy it and it comes with a software, and that software is usually based on an alarm system. So there's an O&M team keeping track of all the signals of the wind farm, but they cannot look at every single one. So at the end, you have some alarms that tells you, okay, this signal is out of the expected range or whatever. However, sometimes what it actually happens that you don't really know if the value that you get was really bad or it was just an error on the sensor. So there is no action follow from the one in team point of view, and because you cannot just go and switch off a wind turbine, because that would cost a lot of money. And on the other side, you cannot also go offshore and do some checks. So it ends up being a system that it works, but the impact in the developer is not that relevant at the moment, because there are many uncertainties. On the other side, another issue that we are facing with these systems is that they are not very accurate in terms of the location of the issue. You have a system that monitors the cable all over its length, but it has some tolerances. So if you want to look at specific location, you cannot do that. So for instance, if you want to look at the cable protection system that is right next to the substructures of the wind turbine, you are not able to see where the problem is happening. And the same happens for the future wind farms, the future floating wind farms, where you will have dynamic cables with a lot of accessories connected to it. You will have buoyancy modules, you will have clamps, and many other accessories. And all of them will be connected in a very short cable length. So we will need these systems to be accurate and point to exactly a location within the cable in order to understand that there is a problem or there is a movement in the cable or in a buoyancy module or something is happening there. Can you go to the next one? Yeah, thank you. And now moving to the cable protection systems. It's a never-ending story if you are familiarized with offshore wind. The CPS systems are a piece that protects the cable between the wind turbine substructures. Okay, so you cannot leave the cable unprotected, and that's why you have this system attached to it. And what it happened is that in 2021, several elaboration issues with inter-array were globally announced, and this required the replacement of the inter-array cables in many different wind farms from different developers. This of course has a huge cost impact, because you will need to replace cables which are not cheap. You will also need to spend time. You will need to disconnect the turbines and so on. So it's a very big problem, and of course there's a big uncertainty on how this will evolve in the future, because these cable protection systems are not expected to be changed during the lifetime of the wind farm. You expect them to stay right for the 30 years or whatever the lifetime of the wind farm is. So and now there's a lot of CPS suppliers working to improve their designs in order to avoid problems. So they're working on new design, new technologies. Some of them are simplifying their designs, making it much more simple and trying to make it better in that way, while others are over-engineering their systems, which is also not desired from the developer point of view, because you will need to spend more time on the design and also more cost. And this gives several problematics, this issue. First, when selecting the CPS for the future wind farms, with this issue that we have, we don't really know which of the multiple systems is the best and won't cause any issues in the future. And also what studies are really needed in order to ensure that nothing will happen during the lifetime of the wind farm. On the other side, we also would like to monitor the CPS system during that lifetime to ensure that everything is fine. And right now there is no monitoring system rather than just going there and looking with an ROV and checking that everything is fine. And also, since they were not expected to be changed, in order to disconnect and replace the CPS, you will need to disconnect the cable. So it's something really not desired at the moment. And the last point that I added here is that there are also insurance issues related with the cable protection system, and it's because with these many issues in the industry, now the insurance companies require more warranties on the product. So it's a quite challenging topic. Yeah, thank you. So some key takeaways: we need for the cable monitoring system supplier and the engineer to be involved from the beginning as part of the tender process for the cable supply. This will make things much more easier. Then we need also for a better use of the data collected from the cable monitor system in order to support the one team. It's pointless to have a system that is not communicating properly the issues and it's not impacting anything. It should impact the way the 1M team operates. We need also cable monitoring focus on the cable protection system area and the termination areas. This is clear a hotspot, and insurance companies and lenders are very keen on it. And finally, the cable protection system and cable stabilization systems require further work to ensure that previous and current issues are not repeated. So yeah, that's basically it, just a snapshot. We are, of course, as I said, interested in many other different topics, and there are many other different issues in the industry, and we are always keen to any kind of solution from new companies. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that, Gonzalo. Yeah, it was great to hear some of the, just as you say, some of the few areas of interest that you're actively looking into, everything around the integration of the cable monitoring systems, and trying to make sure that smooth integrations in place and for the data collection, but then also quite interesting about the issue around the accuracy of the location of issues. So it's really useful to hear about that. So again, thank you for Ocean Winds. We now have an opportunity to hear from our the second of our industry champions. So we have Scottish Power Renewables up next with Teresa Enriquez, the innovation manager from Scottish Power Renewables. So I'll hand over to yourself, Teresa, for your slides.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Tom. So first of all, apologies because I having a connecting issue, so I don't know if you can hear me properly. I hope you do. And in case I drop off, I'm reconnecting kind of quickly, so I'll try to do my best even with technical issues. As Tom has said, I'm Teresa Enriquez and I'm the innovation manager for Option Wind at SPR. For those who don't know what is Scottish Power Renewable, please let me give you a very brief introduction to what we do and who we are. So Scottish Power Renewables is part of the Iberdrola Group, which Iberdrola is one of the largest utilities in the world, and our assets are worth in 150 billion euros. And our investment last year in renewables totaled over 5,000 million euros. And
Teresa, I'm not sure if you can hear us, but you're muted and it keeps cutting out. I might suggest switching your camera off. That might
sure,
help with the bandwidth issues.
perfect. Yeah, maybe this works now. So yeah, so well, I was just giving a very brief introduction to Iberdrola. So regarding our pipeline, the Iberdrola's renewables portfolio, in our portfolio, offshore wind energy is a key area thanks to the growth experience over the last 10 years, making us very proud of it, as we were one of the pioneers in this market. The company has chosen selective investments in the United Kingdom, the United States, Germany, and France, while pursuing other opportunities globally. So in this way, we have ensured compliance with our plan to 2025, when we will reach 3 gigawatts in operation. So from our global pipeline, it is especially worth mentioning our wind farms in operations, which are west of Duden Sands and East England one, which are here in the UK, Vikinger in Germany, which sums up 1.3 gigawatts. And the ones in construction or partially operating, which are Saint-Brieuc in France and Vineyard Wind in the US, we're making it up more almost 2 gigawatts. And the ones in development close to construction phase, which are Vindanker in Germany and East Anglia 3 in the UK as well, with 1.7 gigawatts. So as we have wind farms at all project phases, innovations in either design, installation, or maintenance and operations are always welcome. If we could go to the following slide, please. So giving a closer look to the UK and what Scottish Power is doing, our commitment extends through all phases of the projects and beyond the completion. So we recognize the pivotal role that fostering UK's local offshore wind supply chain. By prioritizing local partnership and investments, we believe regional economies will be bolstered and job opportunities would be created. So this is crucial because by nurturing a robust local supply chain, we not only enhance energy security, but also drive economic growth. If we can go to the following one, please. So we actively search to create positive impact, as I've said, in local regions and communities. Through 4 main ways, we directly address key challenges on areas such as environmental integration, including marine and bird life, for which investing in local companies is crucial, as they are the ones that best know the area. It is also key for us to be at top of innovation, leading new technologies with an increased focus on innovations and supply chain options beyond just the wind turbine technology. And to merge these 2 points together, communication with the local communities is crucial. So we have the UP during all key milestones, not only during development or during construction, but through all the life of the project and the wind farm. And finally, to provide a sustainable employment and development of the local workforce. So we support the transfer of skills to newer ventures, as in this case is offshore wind. So moving on to what brings us here today, Scottish Power is pleased to be champion of this program, as we believe it matches very well with our business objectives that I have just presented for a very sustainable development. So what do we expect through this innovation grant? We would like to introduce novel and innovative technologies that facilitate decarbonization, as well as create new relationships with UK companies and logistic network. And so please enhance these links through this program. And finally, we would love to see these innovations becoming a reality. To finalize, what are we more interested in? So it's for like all of the points that are proposed in this innovation grant are critical and hot topics with a huge room for improvement, either by reducing costs or improving performance, reducing failure. Our key relating, for example, the first 2 points, future cables and electrical systems. It may be worth mentioning in improving cables performance, which can be done at any stage by new, more resilient designs, better installation techniques, or with sensing and prediction systems during O&M. And also enhance environment integration of the cables, for example, with designs lead and fluor-free, or improving green integration and flexibility, including storage or other ways of delivering electricity into the grid in a more flexible and responsive way, so that the acceptance of the offshore wind energy is there's more percentage available, and the bottlenecks could be reduced. And moving on to the last point, installation and ornament techniques. Please let me highlight very quickly the availability issue of installation of heavy lift vessels, or introduction of novel sensing systems and data analytics. As Gonzalo has said, there's not much interest in putting lots of sensors without being able to analyze what they are telling us. And the use of drones and robots for inspections, and as well as autonomous vehicles, and making these operations less risky or reducing health and safety risks. So hope this has clarified a bit more of who we are, what we do, what we look for. And hope that you have been able to hear me well during this presentation. Sorry about the camera.
Yeah, no, that's been fantastic, Teresa. Yeah, once the camera's off, the sound issues were resolved, so we're able to hear you nice and clear for that for the section at the end there. Yeah, that was really interesting to hear from Scottish Power Renewables. I think they've obviously got a great alignment with the call, having that good focus on the innovation but also that local community and supply chain piece. I think that ties in great with the work that we're doing here at OWGP. It's interesting to hear about, you made notes about having that sort of cost reduction, but also reducing the failure and making sure we've got key performance, particularly on the cable performance. So it's interesting to hear that come through. I guess just before I go into the next point and where I can go talk a bit more about the process for the application, just remind for people watching the webinar, if you do have any questions, please put them in the Q&A chat box as part of the Zoom. If that's either for the OWGP team or either of our champions, we'll have time for some Q&As at the end. But if you've got anything on your mind at the moment, please pop it in the chat and we'll try and address that through the rest of the webinar. So for the next period, I'll just have I'll run through the application process for the innovation grant. So the innovation grant itself, it's a single stage application process. And this is done completely online via a Microsoft form. So you'll be able to find a link to the Microsoft form via the OWGP website. This will also be integrated into the scope and guidance document. So within our scope and guidance, this will provide a clear breakdown of exactly the scope and eligibility of the call. So some of the points we've raised already in the beginning of this webinar, we'll provide that in a bit more detail in terms of exactly what sort of projects we're looking to support, and the eligibility criteria that we went through at the beginning of the call on who can and can't apply for the call. Within the scope and guidance itself, there's also a full breakdown of all of the questions that are part of the innovation grant. So the questions are made up of 9 sections. These can be up to 58 questions, just depending if for some yes and no answers. And this is what's used to determine this is what we use to assess the applications that are going through. Just an important note, because we're doing these through a Microsoft form, unfortunately, we're not able to save the form as you go through. So what we highly recommend is going through the scope and guidance, using that as a draft to draft up your responses, and then you're able to copy those into the application form to make sure that you've able to answer the questions effectively and you manage to get all the points down that you want to address to make sure you've got a strong application. Within the application itself, obviously it's 9 sections. Section 9 is actually an addition where you for adding an appendix to the application. So as part of the application process for the innovation grant, in section 8, there's a financial summary. So we're asking to understand the breakdown of what are the project costs going to be for the application, and how is this going to be structured and broken down. We have a finance summary sheet on our website. Companies are required to use that and submit it separately as part of their application. This is so that we've got a clear breakdown of exactly what are the project costs going to be in order for us to assess and evaluate the additionality and the project eligibility. So in terms of the grant itself and this application, so the funding pot we've got for this innovation grant, it's a £1 million pot we've got allocated for this funding competition, and that's to be able to support grants of between 25,000 and 200,000. So that's what's available to claim as part of the project to draw down for the funds. So you see at the bottom there, we've got an extract of the scope and guidance, and then the innovation grant form, just to give you some expectations. There'll also be links to the website and full breakdown of what to expect for all the questions in the scope and guidance document. You'll see there that we've got the application closing date is Friday the 14th of June. So that should provide some good amount of time to really review through your answers, understand the scope and guidance, and go through. I really recommend spending some time and going through that document, as it clearly outlines exactly what we're expecting, how it's going to be assessed. We have external assessors that go through the project to make sure we've got some real specialist backing and insight into what we're supporting. So we do have external assessors that review all of the applications. In terms of the evaluation criteria itself, I appreciate there's a lot of information on the slide, so I won't go through it line by line. The slides will be available, and you can find all this information on the website. But this gives a bit of a breakdown in terms of what to expect and how the application process is broken down. So as I say, we have 9 sections. Section 1 and Section 9, they are unassessed, so they're not weighted in part of the application. So Section 1, we're just really understanding, what's the company details, just so we can understand who's applying and a bit about the detail of what to expect. So that's not weighted as part of the assessment at all. With Section 2, this is more going down to understand what the background of your business is and how you're relevant to the call. So with that, we're trying to look to make sure that applicants, have a real relevant experience, either they're already in offshore wind or they're well suited to deliver in the offshore wind sector. So this is an opportunity for you to show how you're looking to grow and develop in the offshore wind sector. With Section 3, we then go into the ambition for growth. So again, we're looking for applicants to clearly demonstrate the ambition for growth in the sector, and are able to articulate the strengths to be successful, how their project is innovative and how it really addresses the priority areas. Similarly, then in Section 4, this is an understanding of the market opportunity. So what is the challenge area that your project is looking to address? Out of the key innovation priority areas, which one does it align to? How is it going to address this challenge or opportunity area, and how is that potentially going to be exploited moving forward? So these are sort of things that we're looking for as part of a strong application. As part of that, when we move on to Section 5, this is for direct alignment to the call. So of the scope innovation priority areas are for the call, so the future cables and electrical systems and the installation and O&M technologies. How does your project align to at least one of those innovation priority areas, and how is that going to address a specific challenge within the offshore wind sector? Obviously, we need to then understand exactly what the project involves, how is that going to be defined, addressed, delivered, to ensure that there's clear outputs for the project. We need to understand that there's going to be clear-cut deliverables at the end of the project, that this isn't just project business as usual, and part of that makes up in the Section 6, where that's where we get down to the real nuts and bolts and the detail of the project. What's it going to encompass, and how is this going to be delivered and managed by the team in the company? As I mentioned, we then have our financial summary. This is to outline the project costs and explain the purpose of why the proposed project is the most cost-effective solution. As well as this, we need to understand, would this project not be able to go ahead without OWGP support, or is it a case that maybe it would, but a much less degree of impact? This is obviously where we would ask companies to provide the additional financial summary sheet, as I mentioned, this can be found on our website. The last point there in Section 8. This is when we're looking to understand what impact this project is going to have. So how are you expecting to grow as part of this project, and how is this going to allow the next stage in development of your organization? So with this, we're asking applicants to indicate the impact on the company growth and the 4 metrics that I discussed earlier, so that being jobs, turnover, exports, and IP. So we're really looking at that additionality piece. How is this going to project your growth? With that, if there's any, for companies that are applying for this innovation grant who have been successful before, as part of that, we need to get some additional justification on what this particular grant funding will allow for additional growth compared to previous KPI targets that have maybe been submitted. So we're trying to understand what's the additional impact that this particular project will have compared to previous support with OWGP. So we have those sections that go through the application. Again, I'd strongly encourage anyone to go through the scoping guidance form. Within the scoping guidance, there are points on applicant hints. So this will give you information on exactly what are the points that we're looking to get across in these answers, and part of the application, so that you've got a clear understanding of exactly what's required as part of the application, how that will be assessed, and hints for a successful application. So strongly encourage everyone to read the scoping guidance, which can be found on our website. And I suppose finally, what I'll go through is on the some of the key dates for the innovation grant. So the grant is now open, and we launched this at the end of the month in April. So the applications are now open. You're able to submit an application from now on. Of course, we've had the briefing webinar today, and the application deadline is on Friday the 14th of June at 5 p.m. So that'll be the end of the day on Friday to get the applications through for this innovation grant call. The award date we've got is is for August, so it'll be the 22nd of August, on or before that date. That will be when you'll hear if you've been successful or not as part of the innovation grant application. Where projects are then looking to be ready to be starting around early September. And at that will be when we'll start going through the contracting phase to understand, making sure we've got all the contracts and plans and things signed off to get the project up and running and kicked off. You'll be able to apply online, as I said, and you can find the application form online. There's also a link there. And additionally, if you go onto the OWGP website, you'll be able to register your interest just to hear about the latest updates and announcements. So if you're perhaps not going to be applying for this innovation grant, if you register your interest on the website, you'll hear about all of our upcoming opportunities, both with the grant funding program and in the business transformation. And you'll get late announcements and updates and any news stories from OWGP and the team. I've left some information on the bottom there, just for myself and my colleague Claire. If you have any specific questions, happy for you to get in contact with myself. Alternatively, you'll be able to find our general OWGP inbox email within our website. I appreciate we're probably doing quite well for time, and I see there's still some questions coming through on the Q&A. So what would perhaps be good is just spend the last couple of minutes just going through the Q&A if there's anything relevant to for the call. So if you do have any other questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. So I see there's some that are being answered from some of the champions.
Tom, just while you've been talking, I've been going through and answering questions where appropriate. There's a few still in the chat that maybe we could touch on live as part of this session. So there's a question here that I think might have been in response to Gonzalo's presentation. If Gonzalo's still on the line, that might be able to help. What type of cables, in brackets fibre optic, are used, and how are they installed between the shore and the turbine? I'm not sure if that's something that Gonzalo's able. I think it looks like you're typing an answer to that in the chat.
Yeah, I don't really know what this. Yeah, do you want me to type the answer on the chat?
Or if we've opened it up now, so feel free, if you've got an answer, you can present that now.
Yeah, I believe. I mean, we have power cables, so cables which transport the energy from the turbine to a substation, and then we have a different, but also submarine power cables that transport the energy from the substation to shore. And inside those cables, we also have fiber optic cables in order to transmit the communications and all the signals and everything from the different sensors and so on that we have on the wind farm. And also these fiber optics are used also for monitoring. So these fibers can in some way interpret the temperature that the cable is having and things like that. I don't know if that is answering the question.
No, that's really helpful. Thank you for answering that live. We have a follow-up question on if could a novel lightweight load-bearing scaffolding solution fabricated of glass reinforced polymers make it potentially easier to install wind farm cables from turbine to shore? Very specific question. My kind of high level response to that would be, I think if there is any innovative lightweight solution that will help ease the installation process, whether it be more cost effective or make it easier, more efficient, I think that would be of interest to the industry. So if there is a potential solution there, I think it would fall within the scope of this call, providing or depending where it is on that kind of technology development side. So if it's concept level at the moment, or is it something that has been developed, has it been prototyped, would depend if it, that would be important in whether or not be eligible to be a part of this particular competition. But in a nutshell, I would say that sounds like something that's interesting to industry. I don't know if Gonzalo or Teresa have any further points to add on that.
No, I agree. Everything that easiest things, it's welcome, but yeah, I cannot give more insight at the moment.
No,
Feel free to forward whatever information so we can assess it properly.
Perfect. Yeah, I think that would be much appreciated. So yeah, so do feel free to send more information on that. Teresa, I think you were going to come in.
Yes, I was going to say the same, that any kind of, as I said during the presentation, any kind of innovation that facilitate things or reduce risks or improves the performance would be welcome. So in this case, like, it would be super welcome. So yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. Just moving on to the next question here. Is it possible to bring in an international partner as a collaborator subcontractor to bid if the lead partner is UK based? I think is an excellent question because the purpose of this competition in OWGP support programs in general is to support UK company development. So when we're funding projects, we want to make sure that the beneficiaries are UK based, the projects are being delivered in the UK, and the benefits are being realised in the UK. So I would say if there is an international partner that you're looking to bring in as part of a bid, I think providing that partner can offer expertise or particular services or technology or facilities even that cannot be sourced in the UK, I think that would be fine. So if it exists with this Canadian example, for instance, and does not exist in the UK, I think that's fine. But possibly worth reaching out directly to us just to make sure that would be in scope. I think it's fine to use overseas collaborators where necessary. But if there's a UK entity that can provide that service or subcontracted activity, then we'd prefer to use UK suppliers wherever possible. Then there is been some links to some interesting papers in the chat, but I don't see a question there, so I'm not going to touch on them. There's a question about how much the average cable laying vessel weighs. I certainly don't have the answer to that. I don't know if anybody in the panel does have a quick answer.
No.
Nope.
It greatly depends on the vessel. I believe the interesting is the capacity of the vessel rather than the weight of itself.
Thank you. And there's a question here also, a useful question. Can we find out if there are OWGP applicants who wish to be part of a single group consortium? If anybody, because we're not able to share the participant list, if anybody is interested in finding a partner or a subcontractor or is looking for us to facilitate any introductions, please do get in touch with myself or Tom, and we can certainly reach out, or we can share your contact details to people within the circulation list when we're sharing the slides and the link to the webinar. If we can facilitate any introductions, certainly happy to do that. I think that's an excellent question. I think I'm just seeing that our time is now up, but there's a couple of questions that we haven't touched on. So what I'll do is provide responses to those separately when we're circulating the slides, and make sure that we are covering all questions there. And if there's anything else that we haven't touched on, please do feel free to reach out to us separately. Appreciating the time is up, so I might just quickly wrap up. Big thank you to Tom, who coordinated this briefing webinar today. Thank you so much to Gonzalo and Teresa for participating in the webinar, for preparing presentations, and for offering to be industry champions for this competition. We really look forward to working with you and your teams going forward, and hopefully bringing some good solutions to you based on these innovation priorities that you have brought forward today. And to everyone else, thank you so much for your time and participation in the webinar today. We'll be following up shortly with more information. But yeah, with that, I'll bring it to a close. But thank you, everybody, for your time.
Yeah, thank you all.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you, Claire, and thank you, Tom.